After Luke completed his site visit, he developed an inventory map. Luke's inventory map shows the watering system, canopy counts, and inventory points to identify brush species and infestation of species. Let's zoom in to see the water sources. You see a pond in the middle of the planning land unit. There is a fence around the pond. There is the livestock pipeline and watering facility. There are 2 canopy counts. Canopy counts are areas in the planning land unit where Luke measured how much of the ground is covered by the tree canopy. The term canopy count refers to the method Luke used to figure out the canopy cover. In other words, the canopy cover is what you measure, and the canopy count is how you measure it. These terms are sometimes used interchangeably. There are also 4 gates on the property. IP stands for inventory point. An inventory point refers to a specific location where data is collected to evaluate the condition and health of the planning land unit. There are 3 inventory points on the map. On the second page is a benchmark picture of inventory point 1, looking northeast. The main problem is the woody invasion in the background. There are a lot of hedge trees and some cedar trees that are invading this field. Unfortunately, those woody species are not native to this area, and they are replacing our tall grass prairie and choking out our desirable grass species. In the foreground, we see a healthy stand of native grass. In between the stand of native grass and woody invasion is smooth sumac. Smooth sumac is expected for this site. The second benchmark picture is of inventory point 2, looking straight east. This picture documents the neighbor's property across the fence line to the east of the planning land unit that Jane is concerned about. There is a potential for seed dispersal into the planning land unit from there. So, the management activity next to the neighbor's field is going to be increased due to that seed dispersal of cedar tree and hedge tree from the neighbor. Prescribed burning is going to be important to help combat the seed dispersal and new seedlings coming up. This picture of the neighbor's site has significant infestation of woody invasion. The third benchmark picture is of inventory point 3, also looking east. The grass is in good condition, and this is what we should expect to see from a tallgrass prairie field in Greenwood County. On the next page is the brush canopy determination by species document that Luke used in Kansas. Most inventory forms and conservation planning documents are state-specific. Luke used this document to calculate brush canopy. It takes the species of trees and calculates the percent of canopy. Canopy is important for us to understand what type of management and equipment might be necessary to remove these trees. It is also important for understanding what long-term management efforts might prevent tree encroachment. If we have less canopy, then it's going to be cheaper to remove those trees. Also, our management long-term might not be as intense to keep those trees from coming back. This form shows that the canopy is only 3.3%. The combined canopy is low because it is less than 5%. 5 to 15% is medium, and 15 to 45% is high or heavy. Anything above 45% is severe. This is important because we need to know how dense these trees are. What type of management is it going to take to address this woody invasion based on this density? The next page shows canopy count 1. The combined canopy cover is 59.6%. Hence, the canopy is severe. This area is infested with woody invasion. On the next page is a phase inventory map that identifies the different woody invasion phases of a brush management practice and pest management conservation system. When we identify these areas, it gives us an idea of what type of challenges the client will face when tackling this woody invasion. Let's zoom in. On the map, there is a state transition area. The state transition here is those severe brush areas that have mostly shifted the plant community from a grassland state to a woody state with very little grass underneath those trees. It is the last state before complete change in land use into a woody land use, so those trees are very dense. Then we have encroachment, which refers to areas where trees are not as packed together due to infestation. Those would be the low, medium, and heavy density areas within our woody invasion. Then there are the dispersal areas. When you have a tree, it is going to disperse its seed away from that tree. The dispersal areas are where that seed can be expected more commonly from those woody species. The dispersal areas are those areas we really want to focus on to make sure that we don't have any new seedlings coming up. The recruitment areas are where the small trees that we are starting to observe come in. Whenever we are working out there with a client, we want to identify specific areas that require attention to address the growth of small trees. The intact areas are those away from those tree-infested areas, and we can expect less management to occur. However, it is still important to verify that there is no woody invasion coming into those intact areas. Remember, identify the pest, how it's moving, and what state it's in. Next, determine the Pest Management Conservation System, Code 595. Then, plan out the right tactics and strategies to implement. In this way, the client can get ahead of and address the plant pest resource concern. The next page is the Kansas Pest Management Conservation System worksheet. It takes acres of each one of the phases that was located on the previous map and documents the acres of the species that are present, and other observations. The columns depict woody plant encroachment phase, approximate acres, woody species present, and observations or activities to utilize. In the first row, the woody plant encroachment phase is intact with 58.5 acres. There are no woody species present. There is good grass vigor in intact areas. The second row is the dispersal phase, which has 200.9 acres. The woody species present are cedar and hedge. The observation is willow threatened draws, large state transition area to east creating large seed supply. The third row is the recruitment phase, which has 7.2 acres. The woody species present are hedge and elm. There is no observation. The fourth row is the encroachment phase, which has 0.5 acres. The woody species present are cedar, hedge, and cottonwood. The observation is cottonwood along road on south side, cedar and hedge scattered in low amounts in draws. The fifth row is the state transition phase, which is 5.1 acres. The woody species present are cedar and hedge. The observation is hedge and cedar dominate area straight north of the house, old hedge grow west of house along fence line. This is a great benchmark document to label what you saw out in the field when you did the benchmark inventory. On the next page is the Interpreting Indicators of Rangeland Health Evaluation form. Luke used this form to document benchmark conditions for native rangeland. Luke knew to use this tool because he reviewed the National Resource Concern List and Planning Criteria document, shown here. He pressed Ctrl+F on his keyboard and typed in the resource concern, plant pest pressure. He pressed Enter. Next, he pressed the arrow key until he was able to find which tool he needed to use for range. Under plant pest pressure, when the land use is range, one of the tools listed is Interpreting Indicators of Rangeland Health. Let's go back to our Interpreting Indicators of Rangeland Health evaluation form. The first page of this form lists the landowner, or operator, county, fields, date, planner, ecological site, and evaluation area. Under evaluation area, the conservation planner noted that for disturbances, livestock use that is dissimilar in timing, frequency, and or intensity from natural herbivory. For disturbance comments, Luke wrote, Historic grazing density has slightly shifted site to midgrass dominance. This picture shows the midgrass dominance of the site. On the second page, this form not only documents the benchmark conditions, but also looks at different resource concerns that you can identify. Some of the resource concerns under Indicator in the first column are rills, water flow patterns, and gullies. We see that the functional or structural groups are moderate. In the comment section it says, mid-warm grasses are dominant, tall warm season grasses are subdominant. There is litter cover and depth, which is slightly less than potential due to functional group shift. The annual production is slightly less than potential due to shift to midgrass dominance. The invasive plants common section says, woody invasion is present in the planting land unit in localized area. The interpreting indicators of rangeland health evaluation form that Luke used is used for all states.